If you're an MMA fan, you know about Nick Diaz, but do you know what he does with all of his approximate 7 millions? From super fancy wine to an extensive weapon collection, here's how Nick Diaz spends his millions. Nick Diaz is a homeboy to MMA fans worldwide. All that love and respect is not just because he's Nate Diaz's older brother though. However, you can't argue that they both make quite an iconic duo. They can both sell out tickets in the blink of an eye, and there's a 100% guarantee that everyone present would get every cent of their money's worth in peak adrenaline-fueled entertainment. But Nick has always been one to turn fights in his favor. He's been doing it since he started at 18. He's calm, calculated, and incredibly quick on his feet. That's why even though he spends these long, agonizing periods away from the ring, he still has a good number of adoring fans waiting for him to re-enter the fighting ring. As of August of 2021, Nick Diaz clocked 38 years. That's about 2 decades in the game. In that period, Nick has come to rack up a net worth of roughly $7 million, which is a lot considering how much of those years he spent not fighting. But how does he spend it? First of all, it's important to say that despite all the expensive endeavors he's taken upon himself and the celebrities he's been seen hanging out with, like Post Malone and Snoop Dogg, Nick Diaz is a pretty down-to-earth guy. Like most MMA superstars, Nick had a rough beginning. He was born in Stockton, California, with his mother struggling to hold things together for him and his 2 siblings, since his father wasn't really around. To sum it all up, Nick was being bullied a lot by the kids at school and in the neighborhood. Because he got sick of being bullied, he began training at karate and aikido, and even participated in wrestling matches, all before he clocked 16. Things got even more depressing when his girlfriend, who had always wanted him to be a fighter, walked in front of a speeding vehicle. His journey into MMA was ultimately because he was a fan of Lorenzo Gracie. He began training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Cesar Gracie at the Animal House Gym in 2001, the same year he got into MMA. And how old was he at the time? 18 years and a couple weeks. Nick even tried his hand at Sambo, learning at Bulgarian national champion Valery Ignatov's feet, but jiu-jitsu remains his favorite. All of this concludes that Nick Diaz knows what it is to be the underdog. He just won't let it get in his way to achieve victory. Despite being worth millions of dollars, Nick Diaz is not much of a show-off. If anything, he wants us to think he's poor. For example, he said in his GSP post-fight interview that he has never paid taxes. Now you might argue that tax evasion is something more common among the rich, but there was also the time in 2010 he said he spent all his prize money on food. His prize wins during these periods were over 6 figures, and these declarations were a little more public than a real tax evader would prefer. So it's hard to think Nick isn't bluffing like he usually does. However, he seems to be a party animal and frequents clubs and parties from Vegas to New York City. One picture on his Instagram features Nick, a friend, and 2 large bottles, one being a $4,000 2008 Perrier Jouet champagne. Nick seems to have a thing for nice, big cars. His Instagram page is peppered with him taking pictures with choice picks of the automotive world, like an Aston Martin Vantage GT4, which goes for about $280 grand, a Ford SVT Cobra, which cost around $50,000, and a 2015 Maserati Quattroporte GTS, which set him back a cool $150K. Nick also paid a hefty $60,000 for a Chevy Suburban in March 2019, which was a cool upgrade from his $25,000 Chevy Camaro from 2012. He also seems to have an impressive bike collection. One of those bikes was apparently stolen back in March 2015, and he said it had cost him about $50,000. No doubt his bike was custom made for it to cost that much. However, some months after purchasing the bike, Nick reported it missing after a home invasion. It was during the same robbery report via Instagram that Nick Diaz confessed to having a sword collection in case future thieves were stupid enough to get caught. His Instagram page also features other flashy bikes, such as a 5K Trek Madone. Yes, everyone spends money on food, but Nick Diaz has a very special relationship with what he puts in his body. Unlike most athletes and bodybuilders, Nick Diaz is vegan. He explained that it's with this diet that he can train ceaselessly without ever needing to take a break. Nick doesn't shy from posting about what makes up his kitchen on his Instagram page, like his $2,000 S9 Jura coffee maker. It's hard to say which came first, his love for veganism or his love for marijuana, considering he paid upwards of $2,000 for a personalized custom bong made by Illadelph. We also can't ignore his bold claim of spending over 6 figures on dining out alone. Whether it's true or not, even if it's $10,000, that's still a load of money. Recently, he posted a knife collection including a katana and the traditional Japanese twin blades called sai on Instagram. Add that to the nunchucks and sheathed knives he posted on separate dates, and you know he means serious business and doesn't want people to intrude on his private life anymore. A life so private that we have no idea where he precisely resides. If we had to guess, it's probably close to his brother's $500,000 home in his hometown of Stockton. But that's not just it. Apart from his fight wins, Nick and his brother Nate Diaz started their own company, Game Up Nutrition, in 2019. The company produces its own CBD products. Game Up products range from CBD oils to hemp flower, pre-rolls, and even lighters. He's also been featured in a promotion video for Futurola, an Amsterdam company known for making rolling papers and other premium smoking equipment. These alliances are proof that Nick Diaz never for once regretted his actions in the MMA, and never will. Nick Diaz has also made a number of investments over the years. One of those is his venture into MMA promotion with War MMA, which started off June 2013 with a series of 12 fights. However, War never made a return to MMA after that. The second establishment is one of personal importance to the Diaz brothers. The Nick Diaz Martial Arts Gym in Stockton, California, is home to not only Nick and Nate, but a good deal of the friends and family he's acquired over the years as a professional fighter. They also accept students of all ages and train them in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is the form of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Nick specialized in since he was a student of Cesar Gracie's. The gym is also where both brothers perform most of their training. In his 20-year career, Nick has literally done it all. He has been on Strikeforce, Elite XC, Pride, and recently he's made quite the comeback to the UFC. He first started in the IFC, and shockingly got crowned welterweight champion after just 2 fights. 2 years later, Nick finished off Joe Hurley with a well-executed Kimura and won the WEC welterweight championship. Then he got signed to the UFC and for the second time beat Jeremy Jackson at UFC 44. Jackson had previously knocked him out at Ultimate Athlete's King of the Mountain, so you could say that there was a bit of a vendetta going on there. It was also around this time that Nick's fans started having field days with the way he taunted his opponents into submission. His first and most popular victim was Robbie Lawler at UFC 47. Nick taunted him so badly, Lawler threw a wild swing that led him to getting KO'd in the second round. Other famous victims of this hilarious strategy are Diego Sanchez at the Ultimate Fighter 2 finale and Joe Riggs at UFC 57. Now, these two didn't go as smoothly as Lawler, since he lost both fights by unanimous decision, and even got into a post-fight hospital ER scuffle that ended in Joe Riggs losing a tooth and literally shitting his pants. Not long after this, he went back home to Stockton, where he then participated in the ICF. Nick made a brief return to the UFC with 2 fights in UFC, but he left again in 2006. He would later go on to fight Takanori Gomi at Pride 33, finishing him off with a Gogo Plata and landing in his first marijuana controversy after the win. The NSAC accused him of using weed to numb the pain from Gomi's hits and changed the verdict from a win to a no contest. Nick denied all of it and stood his ground that marijuana was not a performance enhancement drug and that he hadn't taken it just before the fight like they were implying. He went on to fight at Elite XC Strikeforce, where he won the welterweight again, and then a second return to UFC. However, things didn't go so well at UFC, so Nick decided to stay home and help train his brother Nate Diaz, who had been making a name for himself in the MMA all this while. He didn't return to the ring until September 2021, a whole 6 years after his fight with Anderson Silva. Many people predicted that Nick would have gotten slow, being away that long, and despite the fight he put up, they turned out to be right. Nick Diaz verbally submitted in the 3rd round of his match against Robbie Lawler, losing by unanimous decision. This brought his record in the UFC up to 7 wins, 6 losses, and 1 no contest. Nick Diaz might be racking up losses in the ring, but he's definitely winning in real life. Despite what seems to be steadily declining interest in MMA, he's getting paid good money. Before his recent return to the octagon, Nick said in an interview that he would not come out of retirement for less than $500,000, and that he would rather work at Walmart since having his ass beat was not really fun. His biggest payout to date came from that UFC 266 loss against Robbie Lawler. If you add the pay-per-view buys, it's estimated that Nick went home that day with a little over $1 million. His career earnings in total probably crossed the $3 million mark. And that's it. Thank you for watching how Nick Diaz spends his millions.